Hey everybody, it's your buddy Ben again, coming to you with another good episode from Ben's Audio Cave. How y'all doing today? I hope you're doing awesome. It's a snowy, well not snowy, it's a snow-covered but beautiful day here. So today I'm actually making this video into response to a comment that I got on the last video, which I hope you guys enjoyed. First of all, if you guys did enjoy that video and want to see some others, make sure to drop me a comment, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel. Really helps me keep doing these videos, helps bringing you guys good content, and hopefully I'm being helpful here. So one of the things that I was asked for in one of the comments specifically was how to set VTA or vertical tracking angles / vertical tracking azimuth on the turntable. I think the commenter had a Rega RP5. I'm sure that means that they've also got the aftermarket Rega mod, which could be a thread or it just could be a slide up and down. So some people find it a little bit difficult. It's on the Rega, it's a straight tone arm. It's got an integrated head shell. I don't have a table like that to show you guys on. However, I'll show you on one that's got straight head shell. Maybe that'll help. The other thing is I'll also give you guys some tricks about looking at the tone arm visually and what it means. So why would we set vertical tracking angle or VTA? There's a lot of buzz around the internet about, hey, VTA this, VTA that. So literally what it means is we're not setting VTA as much as we're setting SRA, which is stylus rake angle, and that just means the angle at which the point of the stylus contacts the actual vinyl itself. Now, most of the cartridge manufacturers out there recommend a stylus rake angle of 92 degrees. So if you're looking at, this is the record here, and I'm going to use this, it's terrible, and this is the stylus, then just back just a little bit, like 2 degrees over perpendicular would give you the tracking angle they suggest. Now, as you can imagine, that is a very small contact area, and you need some pretty decent optics and some patience and everything, and a protractor that's somewhat microscopic to set all this. And it's like, well, that's rough. So how do we get around it? We set our VTA to have the cartridge pretty much like parallel, the cartridge body like parallel with the record itself. When you do that, that gives, if you look, ever to look underneath, and on my other videos you can see, if you can ever look at the way the cantilever comes down, then it's got the diamond mounted, that should put it at the manufacturer's recommended angle. So how do we set it? We set it with one of these. This is an L. Vaughan VTA block. It's also called an azimuth ruler. Now, this is not exotic. This is a piece of plexiglass with some grid lines on it. Now, if you look, there's also some grid lines for the top, for the front of the cartridge, so you can set the cartridge here. You can adjust it side to side if you're also adjusting azimuth for left-right balance. Some tone arms allow that, some don't. If you have a correct head shell, it will. Some of your turntables do not have a VTA adjustment even. Some of the Fluence turntables out there, the new Audio-Technica LP-120 does not. The old Audio-Technica LP-120 did, as does the, I think the 1240 and the 140 do. So I'm going to set this on two different turntables and show you how. One's going to be an Audio-Technica AT-LP7. It's got a dial on it that's called VTA on the fly. You can actually adjust that while your record is playing if you're very careful. Now keep in mind, you can always damage your stylus or whatnot is doing that. So be very, very careful when you're doing this, especially if you've got an expensive stylus, which those are the ones that are going to benefit the most from SRA setting, which are going to be your micro lines, some of your noodle ellipticals, your line contact, your Shibata styli, all those very sensitive to VTA adjustment. So I'm going to show you how to set it straight. Now, we're literally just going to be moving the back of the arm. I'm also going to be setting it on and doing that first on Technics SL-100c, and the reason why I'm choosing that is because it's got one similar to what most of the VTA mods for the Regas and everything are, to where the arm actually just slides up and down, like on Rega, Dynavector, some of the other fairly expensive turntables. You'll actually have a screw, not like a tailor or something like that, but you'll have like a screw to where you twist the Allen screw and you actually slide the arm up and down, and then once it gets to where it needs to be, you clamp it down. A little fiddly to set. The Technics is kind of like that, except you just slide the whole arm up and then you lock it down with a nice little locking mechanism. Still easy as pie to set, but it's going to be more similar for the more manual methods that don't have the VTA on the fly. So I'm going to show you both of them. Hopefully you'll find this super helpful. And we'll slide over here to the Technics right now, and we'll start there. Okay, so here we are at the Technics. Okay, so this is the first thing I want to show you. To set the VTA on this one, we have to unlock this at the back. Okay, and there it unlocked it. So now, if we look, this little guy slides up and down, up and down. Now, let me come over here and show you this really quickly. So let me push in just a little more. Okay, I will set the arm up. So now, if we look, you can actually see this scale here. Up, down, and up. Down, and up. So, hope that makes sense. Now, let's go over here and we'll pull back out. And we'll actually look at the way the tone arm sits on the record. So now for this, I do want to show you how we can visually see this. I'm just going to pick a spot in the middle of the record. Probably want to do that because records do have a little bit of a dish to them no matter what. And we'll put that back and put that down. So now, if we look, you should be able to just notice visually that the tone arm itself has a bit of a tail downward direction to it. It's pointing down just a little bit, right? You can actually really tell that from here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the cueing lever. I'm actually going to put my azimuth ruler here right beside it, and yes, I'm going to set it right on the record. Now I'm going to lower the tone arm. So now, let me go over here and show you the ruler. See if I can get it to focus. Okay. So if you notice, it's got a little bit of a tail up angle to it, but not much. Matter of fact, you might be able to see this a little bit better. Let me see if I can put something behind here for contrast. You can see the front of the cartridge is kind of going downhill, and it just occurred to me I've got the ruler backward. Just a moment. Sorry about that, guys. It will work no matter which side it's on, but it should say I'm wanting that to, okay, so notice I've got it completely flat against there. Now we'll lower it. Now, we can see the cartridge pitching a little bit downward. So what's that tell us? That tells us we are what's called tail up, right? So what we want to do is we want to lower the VTA on this a little bit. So I'm going to zoom back out. I want to show you what we do. I'm going to visually watch this and put your head right down on the level with it till it looks about right. And so now let's check it with the camera. And as we notice, I went just a skosh tail down. So probably want to push it up just a hair more. Let's see. I think that is about level. So now what? At this point, I would call it good. And on this particular tone arm, I'm going to raise it, bring it back, lock it down. Make sure you don't push up or down. And I'll bring this right back over here and check it again. And that looks pretty daggone good from where I'm sitting. So let's see here. Yeah, right on the money. So now let's look at the angle of the actual arm itself. So I've got this up. I'm going to go back out. Now we can actually go to our tone arm itself, like so. I will put a handy dandy little back on here, and we can push down. Now let's look and see what the actual tone arm is setting at and how level it is setting. So if we look, we will notice on the tone arm that it is actually fairly correct as well. Keep in mind, I've got a parallax angle on here. It looks slightly, maybe just a bit tail up. So hang on just one moment. Let me unlock us again here. It's not a precise science, guys. It really isn't. So it looks like we may be just a hair tail up. I'll lower it just a skosh. And now that looks about right. So let's check again with the head shell and see if this dog hunts. And it doesn't. So if you're looking at it with, well, actually it does. So it looks like it needs to come up just a hair. And there you go. So at this point, we're seriously splitting some hairs on this. Honestly, if you're very close, you'll notice an extreme difference very quickly. So this is the other part too. And I'm going to flip you guys around and talk to you about this real quick. When we're looking at this and we're saying, hey, tail down, tail up, whatever, you'll want to actually listen to what it's sounding like. So if you use your ruler and you check and you see that visually and everything, you're in extreme tail up condition, what you'll notice is the highs sound kind of brittle. They sound kind of screechy. They don't sound as well. The bass is a little off the charts. So you bring it down to about level and you'll notice all of a sudden the bass gets more fuller, the highs calm down a little bit, everything gets to where it sounds good. Now if we're tailed down a little bit, and that's the tone arms, the stylus pitching up with the, like say if this is the head shell right here, if it's pitching up at an upward angle, what you may notice is that the highs start to get lost. It may not track quite as well, and the bass will get a little bit overbearing. So in that case, you want to raise it just a little bit. If it's still a little thin on top, you may want to lower it just a little bit. This is something, again, you use this. I like it better with the cover on it. You use this to get close. You do not use this as the end-all be-all. You use this to get close to the correct angle. You always, too, want to make sure that you use the same thickness of records you listen to the most. I know this is going to sound like extremely splitting hairs here, but it's 100% something you need to be cognizant of. I used a 180 gram vinyl record on this one. Why? Because probably 60% of my collection is 180. If you have like a bunch of 140s and a bunch of old records you listen to them the most, then you may want to set the VTA with those. Reason being, if it's a thickness thing, if you change your platter mat or whatever, if it's set to a lower one and you put it on here, then the tone arm is going to go tail down just a little bit. Okay, if you're, in my case, I set this with a 180. If I put a thinner pressing on here, to go tail up just a hair, just a hair. Some people think it makes a whole lot of difference. Even from a 2M black in this micro line, I've not seen one that's that fussy. This is what I'll tell you: the 2M black and the Ortopon Shibatas are the fussiest diamond I've ever seen outside of a Gico Sass. And Gico Sass style are the absolute fussiest about VTA I've ever seen in my life. So just know, if that's what you're using, then that's what to expect. The audio-technica micro lines, they are actually fairly forgiving, okay? And I'm going to show you what the actual stylus angle kind of looks like on here once it's down too. So give me just one moment. Okay, this is about as good as I can do as far as showing you this. But if you look right at the tippy tip of that cantilever is the stylus. And if you notice that white little dot, and this is as good as I can do with iPhone resolution, folks. This is 15x zoom on a 5x zoom lens. So, I mean, this is not using the scope. I'm actually just using the iPhone, okay? That is about a 92-degree stylus rake angle. And again, it's on a tripod. Things are not perfect, but this is what I would consider a properly azimuthed cartridge. Okay, so now that I've probably driven you crazy with setting it on the Technics, we're going to set it here on our venerable audio-technica AT-LP7. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is put an album on here. Second thing, remove the stylus guard. Now, let me overhead this real quick and show you guys kind of how this works on this one. So, if we look here, we have got a dial. Notice I've got a lock. I had it free. But this dial, this is a beautiful thing. Not only does it have marks on here, that's all the way down, but if you notice, I just twist this little guy right here and the arm goes up and down and it's unfussy, and we only got like about a 6mm adjustment, but that's okay. We can do this actually while the stylus is on the record. We could actually do it while it was playing if we wanted to. So let me show you why this is important, if I can get my camera back straight. All right, so now the plinth is straight. So let's put the needle on the proverbial record. Okay, so let's look at this arm. What do you guys notice real quick? Well, that's about as tailed down as you can get, right? Now watch it when I actually start to crank it a little bit. You will see the arm get to the point to where it's about parallel. Now, can we measure this? Oh yeah, we absolutely can. How are we going to do it? Well, we're going to use old Mr. Elbon here again. What's interesting about the Audio-Technica platform is that this doesn't have an S-shaped arm. This has a J-shaped arm, which means it's actually got a straight edge for us to actually measure this. So, and I know I'm toward the beginning of the record, but if you look, let me push in for us a little bit. So if you notice, we're actually still a little tail down, so let's tail it up just a hair and voila, we're there. And it actually looks a little worse than what it is here. So there we go. So now let's see how that hunts arm-wise with our head shell. Now, interestingly enough, this head shell is an Audio-Technica head shell, so it is not like the one we just used. It is got a flat side, but it is a little bit different. Still can be used as a reference point for a reference angle. And what do we see here? It shows we're, according to here, we're just a hair tail up. And see, that's the beauty. On this one, all I'm doing is twisting this ever so slightly. Now, here's the interesting part. Once we get to our reference mark here, push in so you can see it. If you notice, there is a little notch there. Now we could take a pencil or whatnot and just ever so slightly put a mark there if we wanted to. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to bring it back over here. I'm going to lock it down. So now can't adjust it anymore. It's steady where it's at. So now our VTA is set. So I'm going to bring us back out to 1. And I'm going to bring us over here. Oop, that was expensive. And we'll take a look, see, and see how it went. And if you look, we're just about perfect. So now let's look and see what our stylus is doing on this one. So if you look, this one actually has an aluminum cantilever, and you can see the stylus right there, and it is right at a 92-degree angle. So we are good there too as well. All right, so I'm going to bring this back up and put it back down. And that's an LP7 or a 1200 or whatnot. You can do that on just about any of them. So folks, what have we learned here today? Well, the first thing we've learned is listening to records is not an exact science, and I'm telling you, as much as I try to make everything perfect here, things are going to change. It's an analog medium. It's literally a microscopically tiny, very polished, very sharp rock being drugged through a wavy piece of plastic to make the most beautiful sound you've ever heard, right? So, this is what I'll tell you. With VTA, you use the ruler to get it close, then you listen. You can use it to make an initial measurement. Then you listen. You can use your eyes and look at the rake angle of the tone arm, and then you listen. If it sounds a little thin, lower your arm down a little bit. If it sounds a little boomy or fat or is tracking weird, raise it up just a hair. Use the ruler to get it there. Some people actually prefer a tail down or tail up sound just a little bit. Just don't try to get too crazy and get too north of level on here. There's also a other tool you can use called a spirit level. It's a little tiny bubble level. I didn't have one at the time of this taping. I've actually ordered some. I had one. I don't know where it went to. I bet you the vacuum cleaner got it because it's literally 10 millimeters by 6 millimeters. It's not a very big little thing. So you can use that to show you your levelness as well. The one thing about that is it does add a little bit of mass, like 1 or 2 grams, but if you're looking at tracking mass, that can be a lot. So whenever you use one of those, you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. I use that more to measure left and right azimuth for channel balance, but we'll talk about that in a later video. So hope you found this video helpful. Hopefully you'll be able to go play around with your VTA at least. If your turntable doesn't offer VTA, I'll drop a link in the comments to the Audio-Technica LP7 and the Technics SL-100c, which let me tell you is a phenomenal turntable. I will be featuring that in another video soon for a really reasonable price. I'll also drop a link to the Elvon Azimuth ruler. They're pretty cheap. We're talking, I think that little block was like 10 or 15 bucks. It's not very expensive. And I'll drop a link to the spirit levels too. They're $5 for 10 of them. So it was my fault. I only had one. It came in a kit. And to be honest, I lost it. So, oh well. All right, guys. Well, just remember, smash that thumbs up. Drop me a comment. Hit that subscribe button. Help me keep making videos for y'all. All right, till then, this is Ben from Ben's Audio Cave. You have a good one.